Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Joey here. I'm glad you guys are joining me on this one because I wanted to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, which is our beloved pets. I have a dog and two cats and we love them to death here. I want to talk about the importance of their food. I have a heavy interest in nutrition and eating well and eating for performance, eating for overall health for me and my family. And of course, I want to translate that to my pets as well. And there's been a lot of things I've learned over the years that I wanted to share with you guys, but one big one, and I want you to go check this out. I'll go ahead and give it to you right now. There's a documentary out that's called Petfooled. I'll link it below so you guys can check it out yourself. But it really kind of opened my eyes to the pet food industry and just how crazy it is and how it really works. So many good, kind of shocking moments in there. Some of it's kind of gross too, so I don't want to gross you all out, but you need to go check it out. For any of you that have dogs, cats, you're a pet lover, please go check out this. It really, like I said, opened my eyes to what I'm really feeding my pet. And the other reason this kind of started for me is we had a recent vet visit that we had to go do with our dog Daisy. She has some surgery that she needs. She actually pulled her, it's called the CCL. It's kind of like your ACL for a human. And so she's gonna need some surgery in the future here. When we were at the vet, this young vet, he was great. Answered a lot of questions I had in regards to medical advice about my dog, and kind of built a relationship, and so I felt like I could trust him a bit. But it wasn't until the end where he talked to me about the importance of feeding your dog good food. And he mentioned to me that he would like to recommend the food that they sell at the vet. So hearing this guy out a bit, I definitely agree with him in the sense that, yeah, I want to be feeding my dog the best food possible for its health and to make sure, live a long time and have all those great memories. And so anyway, out of curiosity, me and my wife actually I went to the front of the vet and checked out some of the food they had displayed that they highly recommend. And I was just so sad to go through and read it and see some of the real bad stuff that's in it. I mean, first top 3 ingredients were just grains. I think the first one was corn. And it's just so sad to see this because it's like, in reality, I think a lot of us know that a dog's what they call a biological specific diet. Dogs are 99.9% related to wolves. And guess what wolves eat? I mean, they're mainly eating, they're carnivores, so they're eating meat and they're crushing bones. The other thing to mention is that their stomach acid is so strong, meaning that the pH level is so acidic, I think it's pH of 1, that it's made to digest all these things like bones, and it's made to kill off so much bad bacteria. So that's why dogs, they can't wash their hands. They can't do the things that humans do to stay safe. We cook a lot of our food, and that's how we stay clear of a lot of the pathogens with food for humans. But for animals, they can't do that. And naturally, in nature, they have those strong acidic vial in their stomach to break down those foods and kill off a lot of that bacteria. And so there's a lot of the great things like this that are discussed in this documentary that it's just really good to hear, to find out, okay, well, what is the best food that's going to be for my dog? And there is some controversy on it, but I personally think that the raw diet seems like the best way to go. Now, that comes with precautions. You need to prepare things correctly in the right amounts and be buying the right foods. I'll share some links below because in this documentary, they do mention what foods are good. One of the other things that I've always had issues with when I've been searching for dog food, and I've always been on the hunt to try to buy the best dry kibble possible for my dog. And typically, I go through Amazon a lot of the times and I try to sift through, try to find the best reviews. But the main thing I'm looking for is ingredients. Ingredients I can read, I know that I think would be healthy for my dog. And obviously a lot of those grains off the list. I don't want anything that has to do with that or involve in the dry dog food. And so unfortunately, I've gone through a couple different brands online, and a lot of them have gone through recalls, and you'll even see on some of these reviews, you'll read through on certain, you might find a particular dog food that looks great to you, and you go through and then, eventually read somewhere in the comments where there was a recall on one of them, and a lot of people's dogs got sick, and it's just so sad to see that. But unfortunately, it seems like it is the pet food industry, and they're in it to make a profit. But I think with things like this coming out, this documentary, and people talking about this and having conversations around the health of their pets, which is an important thing, I think the pet food industry is slowly, kind of moving in a better direction to try to incorporate better foods. Of course, the issue we have is, real good foods, for our animals, they're going to cost more. And of course, everybody likes convenience and cheap prices. It's a sad piece, but we've got to learn to kind of move away from that, at least have these open discussions and talk about what's better for our animals, and maybe, support the brands that are trying to move in that direction of having better quality foods, and maybe paying just a little bit more for them. All right, so before you go running off to watch this documentary, I did want to leave you with a few points that I wanted to go over that kind of discuss what's going on with the pet food industry, and just some points that maybe kind of open your mind to even checking out this documentary and looking into more about maybe feeding your pet a little bit better, or finding out maybe if your pet food is good for your animal. I'd love to hear from you guys as well. I'd love to know, what dog foods are you buying for your dog? Have they been working well? Does it seem like your dog is in good health? I'd also like to know, maybe have you tried out doing the raw diet for your dog? I know I have in the past, and it seems like they do pretty well on it, but sometimes it does come down to convenience and price. Sometimes we don't want to take the time to plan and prep and do all this meal prep that's sometimes required for feeding your dog, raw food. So a vast majority of the pet food industry is really dominated by, I think there's 5 companies out there. One of them being Mars, other being Nestle, and the other was P&G, and there's 2 more on the list. So look this one up. There was a major recall in 2007, and there was a toxin that was found in some of these pet foods which killed a lot of dogs and cats. I think it was called melamine, and this is a toxin that is actually used in, I think, the production of making certain plastics and foam materials. Next part is that we need to be feeding our pets, I love this term, is biologically appropriate or species appropriate diet. Meaning that, look, there's just certain animals that eat certain things, and they wouldn't have it any other way, because they wouldn't survive because of the nutritional profile and whatever they're eating. So just for the example of, like, a snake would never eat a salad. It would die versus eat that. Another way to look at it too, would a dog or a wolf ever out in nature ever eat corn or rice or wheat? Those are just things they would never even touch. Here's another interesting one that I found out, is that dry kibble was actually formulated and created during World War II, because during World War II there were rations on meat and tin, and dog food used to come in tin cans, and because of that, there was plenty of water within that can to have everything fully occupied in the can. And when they did the rations on this, they had to, I guess the pet food industry had to rethink how they were going to package it, and they came up with the idea of making dry kibble so that it didn't have to be in water and could be packaged differently, since there was the rations on tin. One of the other scary pieces is also meat byproducts. Now, This is why it's a bit scary, is that sometimes these meat byproducts come from unknown meat carcasses, from unknown sources, whether they were literally roadkill or it's just the different parts of hooves and teeth and whatever else they can. They boil all that down and turn it into powder, and sometimes you really don't know where that's coming from or what is in it, which is just never a good thing. But yet it's once again a way for them to fill it in with some other type of meat that they can label as meat byproduct. So here's the last one I'll leave you with, is that the dietary advice that is given to your vet may be influenced by these major food brand companies that are trying to get their name promoted. And so they teach and they give the education to these vets, which I don't think is necessarily a great thing, because they, can push their product, which might not be that great. And for me, in my experience, that's exactly what it seemed to be. When I was there at the vet, reading through the ingredients that this vet was recommending to me as a good food source was just, had me shaking my head. So going through this whole experience, it was just something that was weighing heavy on my heart, and there's a lot of things I learned from it. And of course, I care so much about, my dog and other dogs. I'm a huge dog fan, and cat too. And so I really wanted to share this information with you guys, and I'd really love to know maybe some of your experiences. Has your vet recommended certain foods, and have you looked into those foods and read the ingredients on it? Because what I found was not so great, and it seems like this is something that is going on, and hopefully we can take a turn in the right direction in the future. But I would love to know from you guys, what's been your experience, and what foods are you feeding your animal, and what are some of your favorite brands? This whole subject is just super important to me, because I'm all about health and nutrition and feeling my absolute best. And of course, I want to transfer that to whoever I can, my friends, my family, and my pets. I know if we all can eat better, we're going to feel better, we're going to do better things in life. And so I think that's the moral of the story here. But I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like this kind of content, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment, and we'll see you guys on the next one.